Hi friends, David here from Above AVL and Learn Stage Lighting. And today we want to talk about the thing that we never talk about. You know, the number one thing about the Learn Stage Lighting channel is we never talk about how we make the videos on the Learn Stage Lighting channel. So let's talk about it because honestly, you know, if you're in this world and it is 2025 or in the future, taking videos of live productions is a real thing, and how you do it and to do a good job really doesn't take a lot of expense all the time. And we want to show you some of the things we do here to really do this on a budget and help you be able to create great videos of the events in your space, whether that's temporary and mobile, whether it's a permanent installation, whether it's a church, whether it's a band, whether it's a theater. Let's dive in. Today we're titling this video how to create and how to really take great video of your events, even if you don't have camera operators. Because how many times have you created a video, right? And you know, it's just like this, right? The whole time. And you know, call me boring, right? You've just got this one front camera just pointing at the stage really wide, and that's all you got, right? Wouldn't it be so much cooler if, you know, you could go other places to other cameras and, you know, maybe even have them, you know, move around a little bit as you adjust different things and you go, okay, what's going on, David? You know, what's going on here? You know, how are we doing this, right, without somebody operating the camera? Well, it's actually pretty simple, and I would say that the technology, let me pull this one back into our preset, the technology's been there for quite a while, but I think it's finally come to a place where we can talk about it here because pan tilt zoom cameras or PTZ cameras and, you know, even, you know, mirrorless type cameras like our main camera that we've been using for a few years here or our side camera here, right? All of these options have really matured in the last few years, and there's a couple things that they really do well. And so that's what we want to talk about here. And so how you might put together a system like this, how we can help you do it, and how it really doesn't have to be an expensive ordeal, but your stage can still look really good. Let's dive in. Okay, so what does it take to really put together a camera system and make it look really good for stage use? Arguably, today's cameras, as long as you know, don't buy the cheapest thing out there and go with something that has a good quality sensor and a good lens, then you're going to be able to take really good video, even if your lighting sucks, which of course, if you're on this channel, hopefully your lighting doesn't stink, right? We help people create great lighting for amazing events here. And, you know, we hope that your lighting doesn't stink, right? At least hopefully it's even. The front light's even. We talk about that all the time because then you can go ahead and be able to have cameras, you know, have different angles and be able to get a really good video out of it. Okay, but the problem always is, right? If you're, you know, in a band, in a church, in a theater, you know, whatever, it's almost always really difficult to find enough camera operators to make this stuff happen, right? You might want to have just, you know, even 2 to 3 cameras can create a really good piece of video, right? Either for live or recording it using a recorder or a recording switcher. You know, you can really, with the right settings, we'll talk about that actually in a kind of secondary video. So stay to the end to find out where that is. If you have the right settings, you really can create some really good stuff. And so how do you do that? Well, as I mentioned, the very first thing is picking good cameras. Number 2 is getting them set up. How do you get them set up? How do you pull them into a video switcher? How do you control them? And then number 3, how do you record or get it into you know, your system? Okay, so what we're working with today, guys, are a few PTZ cameras that we've actually got on loan from this company, BZB Gear. Now, you know, the opinions are all our own here, but we're really loving their stuff because we looked at, honestly, looking at adding PTZ cameras to our portfolio, We looked at all the major brands, tons of minor brands, talked to the companies, looked at the products, and BZB just resonated with us in a way that others didn't, because they really, really, really care about supporting people well and having cameras and other products that are really simple to use and really accessible. And they're really good about support. You know, I had a question, I wrote in their generic support line. I didn't reach out to the contacts I had. I had a reply quickly that answered my question. And that stuff matters. Okay. So to start with PTZ cameras, there's a lot of ways that honestly you can do it. Well, you can start and just go get cameras, right? Like I've got one of their cameras. I think you can see it up here, showing down here. I've got one, of course, at the front over there that we're pointing to. And you can start with just the cameras itself and control them from a PC or Mac. They've got PC and Mac software. You can control them. You can save presets. What's really cool though, and if you're going to do a lot of moving around, is these cameras have controllers as well. So this is one of theirs. This is actually one of their older models, the BG Commander. And it allows you to simply select a camera, for example, this one, and then you're able to, adjust all the different parameters, right? Zoom in, zoom out, move it around, go ahead and, change the focus per se. Maybe you want to focus in and out. Maybe you want to change the exposure. So instead of going to auto, going ahead and adjusting the parameters. Woo, we just went dark, to whatever you need. Adjusting the white balance, which I'm not going to do here, and then setting presets. So ultimately, when you move them around, in a controller like this, at any point you can go ahead and store preset, move it, and then you're able to just press, and you're brought right back to that preset. There's another preset, there's another preset, right? Nice and easy, really simple. You're able to manage multiple cameras as well. For example, this one has, looks like 7 cameras. Different models have different abilities. And, the setup honestly is really simple. Like any other networked device, and don't let this kind of gloss over you if you're new to this, each device comes with a default IP address. You hook that device up to a computer, and you can set it to the IP address you need. If you need help with this kind of stuff and you're getting it through us, we love to help. Once you've got IP addresses set, you can stick them on your network or just plug them all into a network switch together, set them up in the controller, and boom, you're good to go. I found with the user manuals that BZB Gear has and the info there, it only took me about 20 minutes to set up these 2 cameras and controller, and this was the first time I'd done it. Okay, now how do you get really great video of a performance on stage? Okay, the cool thing about these cameras is you can come out SDI or HDMI, and there are also options depending on the model to go out NDI or Dante AVH. If you don't have camera operators as well, this is really cool, is I can pop in here, let's see, get the correct camera, and I can turn on auto tracking. And I've set some really basic parameters, but what I'm able to do, as you can see, is you're going to see the mess of my office really quick, is you're able to move around back and forth, and as long as the camera can tell there's a person, and honestly it's really good, then it's just going to go ahead, it's going to move, it's going to zoom, it's going to focus on you. You can even change, when there's multiple people in the shot, you can even change which person it's focusing on, and also adjust the pan and the zoom speed as you're doing it. And so now if I go ahead and turn it off and go back into my preset, and Bob's your uncle. Nice and easy, works well, life is good. Okay, so if you're doing multiple cameras and you want to do multiple cameras of your live events, you want to have just this mix of close-ups and further shots and, following certain performers, you don't necessarily have to have a bunch of camera operators, which you can know if they're low paid or volunteer. You could definitely have issues with them, right? Where sometimes you go, it would be better not to have an operator. You really, not having camera operators, sometimes it can be better. Just having some presets to go to. And the beautiful thing is these cameras, a lot of PTZs, including the BZB Gear ones that we've got here, use the Visca protocol, which is an open protocol from Sony, very common. And so I can use this controller here and I can store presets, right, for the different places that I want the camera to be able to focus, just as we showed you, okay? I can access those from any other Visca device. So I can access those, for example, from my Stream Deck, from the companion software. I can do it from a controller like this. I can get to it from a computer, okay? And I can recall whatever I need to on the fly, okay? So when it comes down to it, you pretty much got to get some cameras, get them hooked up to a video switcher, which if they're long distances apart, that's probably going to be SDI cables and an SDI signal. If they're close together, you can use HDMI. Pair them with a video switcher. A lot of times, like for example, here in the studio, we use Blackmagic. They're really a go-to switcher for kind of entry-level to mid-level stuff because they offer a lot of value. They offer the ability to record everything in isolated format on a lot of their models, and they generally work pretty well. BZB Gear also has switchers that have some different features as well, which might be worth looking into. But essentially hook the cameras up to the switcher, press the buttons, and you're able to go switch through cameras, see different views as you work in your event and as you capture different parts of the show, different things you're doing. Let's talk about making these things look great. So when it comes to making cameras look great and making them look great for your live events, that is going to be like the one downside to PTZs. Like you might see here, I get a little moire effect on the LED wall. Okay, if I go here to my focus, you can see here, when you focus on the LEDs, it gets really sharp. When you focus away, it goes away. And so that is a consideration. Cameras with smaller sensor sizes tend to have a little bit more moire effect. That being said, I've got it gone almost completely. Now I've got the LED wall looking really nice. It's a 2.9 millimeter wall. And it looks like in order to get back in focus, I've got to be, where do I need to be at? I've got to be just a little bit far away from the wall. And so that's really worth knowing as well, that, it is a little more depth that you might need with certain lenses from an LED wall compared to a normal camera, right? Where I could be a little bit closer. I've got a short throw lens that specifically has a really wide aperture. But regardless, as you can see, with all of the stage lighting around me, we're able to make it look really good with some basic settings without going overboard. So, all that to say, guys, thanks so much for watching this video. We appreciate you here. If you're looking to get started with adding cameras to your lighting, it's actually really simple. It's really just as simple as hooking up network cables to some cameras and some controllers. They can get power over PoE from a network switch that has PoE. Okay, so just hooking that up. Hooking up HDMI, or if it's longer distance, SDI cables between the cameras and the switcher. And then pressing the buttons on the switcher, switching between cameras, and having that either go to recording, plug into a computer for live stream, or go to screens for iMac. Okay, but the really big thing is that with PTZ cameras, or even a mix of PTZs and non-PTZ cameras, you're able to, kind of get the best of both worlds, right? But we have the ability to, switch, auto track people, right? Move around, be able to follow people, be able to have static looks, maybe even close-ups, maybe a side stage or side camera type look, as you can see here, and be able to highlight, anything, there's my messy desk, that you may need, along with a mix maybe of non-PTZ cameras. You can really make a really great event that looks like you have a lot of camera operators, and really you either have one person operating a video switcher or nobody operating it, and just having cameras in different positions, having some of them doing auto tracking, and then cutting it into video later. Whatever you do, guys, we've got all of these sorts of cameras, and we can help you with switchers, cabling, everything else over at aboveavl.com. So if you want to put a package together either add some stuff to your cart and request a quote at aboveavl.com, or just shoot us an email, gear, at aboveavl.com. We'll put it on the screen nice and huge. And then, guys, as I mentioned, we got to talk about the settings we use to make these PTZ cameras. Of course, one that I just totally jacked up the settings on, to make these cameras look as good as a mirrorless or DSLR type camera, and be able to really get high quality video out of a camera that's small and can move, and how to make everything look good, how to get the banding off your LED walls, how to, keep flicker and anything else like that out of things. You'll want to join us over at the Learn Stage video channel, where we will be talking about that. We'll see you guys there. Thanks.